We are live.
We're live right now.
Right now.
Excellent. Dan, I'm having a shitty fucking day. I was just bitching to you for a while.
I heard.
Nothing serious. No one's dead, injured. Health is okay. And those are the most important things in the world.
Definitely.
But wait a minute. You're listening to Fresh Talk.
That's fucking right.
I didn't even do the intro. God damn it. That's how bad of a day I'm happening. That could be the first time that's ever happened.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's Monday.
It is Monday.
Yeah.
This has been a shitty Monday for me. So bad that right before we started the podcast, my nose started to bleed. So I have a nosebleed on top of the shitty day I'm having.
Terrible.
My fucking phone, if anybody's out there watching, because we do have the technology. Week 2.
2 in a row.
2 in a row. We gave nobody any lead time, though. Everybody was
It was
asking
about
us.
10 minutes.
Yeah, everybody was like saying, like, dude, gives me a little more lead time. Sorry, if you didn't catch the tweet that we sent 10 minutes ago, you can't watch this live.
The problem is I'm at work all day and you're probably at work all day. So there's not like, hey, watch it here
Yeah.
in 6 hours because it's like, oh shit, I got to send this out right now.
Exactly. So if you are watching anybody out there on the screen, I'm going to point at the screen. My shitty fucking iPhone, I have like the first iPhone or the whatever. It's having all sorts of issues today. You were just talking about when technology fails you, how frustrating that is.
Definitely.
What a strange world we live in where that's like, you know,
That's a thing.
that didn't exist.
That is a thing.
30 years ago, like that didn't exist. Like,
Well, I mean, your car would die or
yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
your phonograph might stop working.
Yeah, true, very true, very true. So my phone's messed up. I can't send the fucking text message I need to send. My nose is bleeding. I had all sorts of issues with the newspaper I work at today over some bizarre article that I will not waste the listeners' time on. But it has been one of those days. I got to
Shitty.
go to LA traffic tomorrow to work on the sound for the flick. I'm tense, man. I'm tense.
Sorry to hear it, man.
Yeah, that's okay. But you are going on a vacation this week.
I am. I'm leaving in a few days.
Yeah, throw that on my shitty list of stuff to do. Why don't we tell the listener? We'll tell them this little story. Dan is going to Barcelona.
I am.
Awesome trip.
Very soon.
Very happy for you.
I'm
You are
stoked.
leaving on Thursday. You sent a text message to myself and Aaron saying, hey, guys, need a ride to the airport from a trip.
Who can hook me up?
Who can hook me up?
I did say gas money, so I am paying you to take me. It's not like I really need a favor.
Gas money, which is cool. So what Dan fails to mention, dear listener, is that, he says it's only to the Santa Barbara airport.
That's a big plus.
Big plus, which makes the deal a lot sweeter if you're going to hook your homie up. Driving down to LA and getting stuck in traffic these days is a nightmare. I mean, it only gets worse and worse down there. So
Take you 4 days to get to the airport.
I feel like asking somebody to take you to LAX now is more of a favor than it was like 5 years ago.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because I used to be like, I'll take anybody to the airport. No
Yeah, sure,
problem.
whatever. It's with 90 minutes.
Yeah, now you're like, that could be 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like if the dice roll wrong, you know? So I'm like, oh, you know what? It's LAX, whatever. And like, Dan, and then I am smart enough to ask Dan, what time? And drum roll, please, Dan, what time do you need to leave?
Well, my flight leaves at 6 in the morning,
Okay.
which means we need to be on the road at like 4:15
15.
at the absolute latest.
4:15.
It's the first leg is domestic, but it's an international flight. You know, they tell you to get there 2 hours early, which I'm not going to do at Santa Barbara. It's small,
But anyway,
but it's fucking early.
if you've ever
And I
asked
appreciate
anybody for a
that.
ride to the airport, do what Dan did. And when you send it out, don't mention what time until the person says yes.
Maybe when is it?
Yeah, brutal. Fucking brutal. Arguably
Sorry.
the worst time ever, period. I mean, not in terms of traffic.
I was gonna say
Traffic
you will
be
hit
great,
no traffic.
but that's a time where everybody is dead asleep. Even the late owls like me and the early risers like you, everybody's asleep at 4.
Yeah, there's no like,
Yeah.
I'm up that late anyway.
Yeah,
It's not,
no.
unless
If
you're on
you
a coke
said,
binge.
If you said 1, oh, hell, I got you, Dan, no problem. But 4, that's enough time for me to pass out for 2 hours and then wake up groggy and disoriented and destroyed for the rest of the day.
I tried. I'm having somebody watch, the house in Riker
Mm-hmm.
while I'm gone, and I was like, "So, can I just throw you like an extra $30 and maybe take me to the airport?" She was like, "Yeah, when and where?" And I was like, Santa Barbara. There's a 6. I got to be there 6. She's like, "I'm assuming you mean PM." And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Don't you have any other friends?"
It's brutal, man. It's brutal. Well, anyway, that's happening. So this week is just off to a doozy. One event that I work on every year that maybe some of the listeners are aware of is Spencer McKenzie's.
Yeah,
which
we've
is
played that a few times.
Played it a few times. Where Chuck D from Public Enemy joined us. One of the
Fucking right.
greatest moments of my musical career and life, for that matter. But that is this weekend, and the event, oddly enough, has transformed into a bit of a music concert. Into, if you can believe this, For those that you don't know what we're talking about, there's a restaurant in Ventura that we're all fans of called Spencer McKenzie's.
It's pretty delicious.
The gentleman who owns the restaurant and myself started this outdoor block party, and there would be a bunch of bands and vendors, and it would take over a whole street. Past 5 years it's been going on. It's a very, very cool event. Army of Freshmen played it quite a few times.
Yeah.
But it has transformed very strangely into, now this is weird, a cornhole tournament.
Not what you think it is.
Not what you think it is. Not, zombie sexual depravity. It is not yet. It's basically this game that is sweeping at least America, where you throw a beanbag.
They call it bags in a lot of places also.
Bags. Okay. Okay. Beanbag toss. Bags is the slang name. Cornhole.
Toss my beanbags.
And you throw this beanbag into a elevated wooden platform. There's a hole in it.
It's slanted. There's a hole in it. That's how you score points.
It is huge.
It's
out
fun.
here.
It's good, like barbecue game. It's like the new horseshoes, the new washers.
Great way to put it. New horseshoes, but it is sweeping the country. Like,
it's
you
everywhere.
Don't go to a tailgate or a concert parking lot or a barbecue or a birthday party without seeing these cornhole sets set up. So this event that I am working at this weekend.
In fact, we talked about it just about a year ago because you worked it. It was a very funny episode.
Oh, okay.
Go back and look it up.
Great.
I'll find the
cornhole may be in the title. Anyway, that's happening this year. This music festival is kind of transformed into a cornhole tournament. I will not waste the listeners' time with the story, but cornhole's become huge. It's very big out here. So basically, I am working at and running a stage at this event with music, but the entire event is basically just a bunch of rednecks or rednecks.
Yeah, rednecks
Basically. Throwing beanbag tosses all day.
Getting hammered. I mean,
and competitive, though, because now this tournament's gotten bigger and bigger. There's fucking guys flying out from all over the country to Ventura.
Because there's a cash prize or there's a purse.
Big. He's doing $9,000 worth of cash prizes.
God.
If you win this, you win $4,000. That's a lot of money. That's enough to go spend every night in the backyard for a year getting good at throwing this.
Making cornhole, rigs, whatever they're called.
Some of these dudes they're it's incredible. I mean, their skill level set is amazing. So anyway, I'm going to basically, after I take you to the airport at the ungodly hour, I'm going to spend the next 3 days of my life watching and working at an event where guys are just hurling beanbag tosses, and these dudes take this shit seriously. When there's money on the line like that,
there was some shit that happened at this other cornhole event, right? There was some shit that happened with I seem to recall.
Oh yeah. I mean, they take it very, very seriously. So I'm probably going to get assaulted this weekend by beanbags, cornhole. I'm assaulted by grown men playing cornhole. That's something that used to happen in prison.
That's the stuff of your fantasies.
No. That used to happen in prison shower stalls. Grown men.
Probably still does.
Cornhole attack. Cornhole attack. Attack of the cornhole.
Well, I think we have a title.
Yeah. Attack of the cornhole. Oh, yeah. So everything's falling apart. I have nothing.
No, I have nothing.
For those who listened to last week's episode. And once again, thank you for the response.
Yeah, we got a good response.
Got a good response. People really enjoyed the tale of Treefort and their insane performance of the cock chop where the guy tried to cut off his dick. If you're listening to this episode and you haven't heard
please go give it
last week's episode. Go back. Fast forward to the end if you don't want to do the whole thing, but if you want to hear the story that everybody's talking about, the show that you and I witnessed, which is our all-time weirdest show we've ever seen, where a guy tried to cut his dick off, set himself on fire.
He set his pubes on fire, not just himself. He wasn't like a Burning Man. He's like, I'm lighting my pubes on fire.
Yeah. It's worth a listen. Last week, so definitely
it's funny.
Head back, see that. Enough about me and all my sorrow, Dan. You're getting ready to go on a great trip. I wish I was going with you. Let's roll into the segments, shall we?
Okay.
What is your pick of the week? Last week you gave us some security tips.
I did.
Are we sticking with that, or are we?
I am, because it was gonna be a 3-parter. We kind of rolled parts 1 and 2 together. So last week, my tip was to get a password manager. Look into a password manager, and this week was going to be which one that I use, which we talked about last week, which is LastPass. It manages all of your passwords. It makes secure passwords for you, so you can have crazy fucked up passwords that you can't remember, but it remembers them for you. That way, if password databases like Yahoo or, I don't know, Ashley Madison get leaked, and your password and email are out there on the internet, if you use that same password everywhere.
Ashley Madison, because I got a good story.
Okay, will do. If your password gets out there, they can just try your email and password combination on every site ever. And if you're, using the same password like most of us do, even though we shouldn't, other things can get hacked. You can lose credit card information, all this stuff. So if you use unique passwords that are complicated on every site, you can avoid that. Password managers help you do that without making you remember all of them. LastPass being my preferred password manager. What I want to talk about today is something it's in the same vein. So you're using a complicated password, you're using a password manager. The other thing that you should do, and not every site offers this, it's called two-factor authentication. I bet you've used this.
Okay.
If you log into your bank,
yes,
and they're like, we're going to send you a text message to make sure you're you.
Yeah, it says you have fallen under the $25 limit. I get that text message often.
That's a very different one than I'm thinking about. So if Facebook does this, Twitter does this, my bank does this. If I log into my bank account from a browser it doesn't recognize, i.e. I haven't signed in with this browser before, it says, I don't know if you're really who you say you are. We're going to send a text message to the number we have on file for you with a code. Put that code in with your password, and that will authenticate you as the user we think you are. Why this is important is because if somebody gets your password, i.e. again, a password database gets leaked, it doesn't matter because they won't get the text message that your bank sends you.
Okay.
So you can turn this on in Facebook. If your password gets out on Facebook, you go to sign in and it says, I don't know if this is you. Enter this code that we're going to send to your Facebook app that's on your phone, and that will authenticate you. So it's another step. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Okay.
But it's another step in securing your online privacy, your online security, and making sure that people can't impersonate you. Two-factor authentication. Look it up.
Two-factor authentication.
And like I said, Facebook does this. If you have the Facebook app on your phone, there's a little section. It will say, I think it's called two-factor authentication or Facebook code, something like that. Twitter, same thing. You can have it send you a text message when you log on. So if I log into Twitter and it's like, I don't know if you're who you say you are, we're sending you a text.
So basically what you're saying is you're one of the most protected people in the world in terms of
I am Mr. Robot.
You are Mr. Robot. With that said, you mentioned Ashley Madison.
Yeah,
Ashley Madison is
big thing in the news this couple
huge hack.
Yeah.
A website for people that are looking to cheat on their spouses. And
Canadian website, which I didn't know until this thing came out.
What's that?
Canadian. So the Canadian
is it based
company.
out of Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. You can cheat on your wife, or your wife can cheat on you. But the thing, they promise all sorts of privacy. No one will find out. Discreet. And this whole company is based around being discreet. That's the whole point. If you're having an affair, you want to keep it discreet. And it gets hacked, and they get every single email address that has been registered through this.
Email addresses, credit card numbers, and regular addresses, everything you have to provide to sign up for this service.
Okay.
Free, because they have a free service and they have a paid service. This is a really big story, especially in the tech community, because A, it was a hack, and B, it's like all these fucking people whose information they thought was secure.
Something secretive. And oddly enough, not a bank or Target card or whatever it may be, a site where you are essentially committing adultery.
This was like a social justice kind of hack. So the
social justice,
the hacker group that did this came out and said, we did this because we don't like Ashley Madison and we don't like infidelity, things like that. I mean, I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
Don't attack me, guys. It wasn't like a criminal ring, a hacking ring that said, we just need credit card information, we're going to sell it to Russia, whatever.
Okay.
They did this to expose the people that are cheating on their spouses.
Wow. Because hackers love putting people on blast. That's what they do.
Well, and it wasn't anonymous, but anonymous does love doing that. I mean, that's kind of what they do. It's a social justice thing. So
there's all these, regardless of your thoughts on affairs and infidelity, there are not a few. Every single person on this site, am I right, is essentially
the database is out there.
Email is out there.
And here's the thing.
Well, they created a program.
Yes.
This is where it gets crazy. That's one thing. Okay, it's hacked. It's out there, whatever. Somebody made a program where you can type in email addresses, and it will fire back and say, yes, this person was on this site.
So here's the
I have that right, correct?
Yes, that's I mean, because they released the database, anybody can get it and comb through it. They found plenty of addresses with a .mil, email addresses with a .mil extension.
So that's the fun thing you can do, even if you don't know the people's names or their fake names. If you're using your company's blah blah blah,
yeah, or politicians, or like like I said, military. It's illegal. Adultery is not illegal in America unless you're in the military, in which case it's illegal. But it's something you may want to know.
I'd be willing to say that adultery is maybe more prevalent within the military due to all the long distance factors and the stresses on both ends.
Yeah.
I mean, every person I know virtually that's been in the military essentially gets divorced over often cheating. You know,
It's a tough situation all the way around.
oh, okay, and that's a whole other conversation. Whether it's good or not, but it's fucking on, right?
And here's the really interesting part about this. There's two big angles to the story, at least from my perspective, the technology perspective. They offer, so if you sign up for Ashley Madison, you pay the subscription fees, whatever, or you don't. They offer a service for like, I don't know, $30. They say, we'll remove your information from our database. We'll scrub you out. That way you're not listed in here anymore.
Oh, okay. This is something that they like when you're
It's
done.
when
you're done.
You're like, you know what? Get me the fuck out of here. I don't want to be listed in this database as a client anymore. And you have to pay to do this.
Okay.
Turns out,
oh man,
they didn't remove you. So they found evidence in this database of people that had paid to be removed that are still in the database. So yeah, it's fraud. Then,
so you could technically probably sue them and say, I paid.
Oh, there's going to be a massive class action lawsuit against them.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Additionally, I don't know this. This is all hearsay. This is all third hand. What I heard is that there isn't an email loop for a sign up. So, you know, when you sign up for something and they're like, all right, we're going to send you an email to confirm. Ashley Madison may not have that in place, which means that I could have signed you up. And then your wife goes, well, I'm going to see if Chris fucking did this, looks you up, and there's your email address in there. So we don't
people
know
could fuck with people.
It could, which removes the credibility from this whole hack. You're like, well, this could be anybody.
Oh, okay.
Except for the people whose credit cards they were able to match up with their addresses.
Wow.
So it's complicated.
Just insanity.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And the big, so far, the only one that I saw that was somewhat of a name, and this is not a name at all, but that 19 Kids and Counting show.
Oh,
you know, those religious people that had a million kids.
The Duggars.
The Duggars. The one Duggar who was already in trouble, got the show canceled.
He's a real shitbag.
Because he was fucking around with little kids, which is as fucked as
and cheating on his wife.
All sorts of stuff. He was on that site. So that's the only one, unless you've seen a name or two that I'm not aware of. But that was the only one that kind of had like a celebrity factor to it. And celebrity is a loose word there, but you know, but they said
if by celebrity you mean horrendous piece of shit, then yes.
Yeah, a bunch of government. I mean, people working at the
politicians are so slimy anyway.
Yeah. Just bizarre. So that's the Ashley Madison story. The only reason I brought that up is because I think this is something that most people, under several names. I think most people can. I made the mistake of using my actual name for all of it. You know, Chris J.
You're honest, man.
Yeah. So I think this is something most people can relate to, and it probably has nothing to do with being on Ashley Madison, but it is connected. Did you ever write a tweet, Dan, that you're really proud of? From a clever standpoint or a comedy standpoint, and you're like, you know what? I'm not just talking about you're talking about your day or whatever. You're pissed at somebody. I'm talking about that's clever, that's funny, that should be retweeted. That's something that your homies should see, chuckle, and hit the retweet button.
Totally
right. I had one of those, and it was based off of Ashley Madison. And Twitter's all timing, right? You know, if you send that up at the wrong time, nobody may see it. If you send it up at a busy time, a lot of people see it, whatever. I had this tweet. It hit me at night as I was going to sleep to the point that I recited it in my head 10 times.
to remember
so I could remember it. Yeah, it's true. In the morning, I wake up, I remember it, I put it out, and the tweet was, I want to apologize to my friends and family. It's true. I was on the Billy Madison hacked list, the hacked Billy Madison list. I thought it was Twitter gold. I'm sitting back. That was one of those ones I plugged it in, hit send, and I just looking at the notification button,
just watching,
waiting for the retweets. I got like 3. I could go on there right now and say, getting ready to eat Chipotle, and I'd get 5 or 6.
I got me some Chipotle.
3. I thought it was so clever. Like, I thought I was the first guy to make the play, and maybe I was thinking too much into it. Like, the idea is the hack Billy Madison list is people that are fans of Billy Madison, and
I was trying to put together what that would mean.
Yeah,
what
maybe
is
that was the problem.
You're in the class of one of his grades that he goes.
Oh yeah, but maybe I was on the list of guys that he was trying to apologize to.
Who knows?
I guess it wasn't that good. I was really proud of it though, man. I just thought the Ashley Madison, Billy Madison connection was just tremendous. So, you know, I'm going to basically say that that's my pick of the week is the tweet that I sent. So I want everybody to go to @ArmyOfFreshmen on Twitter, look at my timeline, scroll
I'm
through.
doing it right
I
now.
think
I'm
it
not
was
finding
Saturday
it.
or Sunday. Oh no, you're not seeing it. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing if it didn't get
If you
posted?
didn't send it.
And that's why I was so hurt. But check it out. Go to Army of Freshmen. Do me a favor. If you're my homie, if you're my friend, if you're listening to this podcast and you are on Twitter, go there, check out my tweets, and find the Billy Madison post.
How long ago was it?
Let me see here. I'm telling you, it was Saturday. It had to be a day or two ago. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Ah, there it is. It's time I come clean to my friends and family. My name was on the hacked Billy Madison list. August 22nd. 3 fucking favorites.
Yeah, it's
That
only 2
it.
days ago.
3 fucking favorites. What a goddamn bummer, man. Yeah, that really bums me out. I got more favorites on my post of I ate an eclair last night. So depressing.
Well, you did phrase it in a weird way.
So depressing. So anyway, there's my pick. My pick is my funny
Oh, there it
tweet
is.
about Billy Madison that nobody liked. I say we make this an internet phenomenon. Everybody get on there, give it a retweet, give it a favorite. Maybe it'll pick up steam. Maybe people will
Done.
see the comedy. Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate that. My 4 favorites. So that's my pick of the week. So Dan, last week's podcast was a little rambly and it was a little long too.
It was 90 minutes, which is long for us.
That's okay. That's okay.
Fine. It's,
So
this is our show, goddammit.
as we can do what we want, absolutely. So, but I do figure we should hop right into the old topic this week, and I'm going to throw this out here. I don't know where to start to begin on this, but
We should start to begin at the beginning.
Hot Rod Roddy Piper,
Rowdy Piper.
Roddy Piper, the professional wrestler, passed away earlier this month.
July 31st.
July 31st. Okay. Last month, day before the
Basically
month.
this month.
He is, from a historical perspective, widely regarded as one of the best villains of all time, one of the best bad guys of all time.
Heel.
Heel. There you go.
In
Oh, yeah,
wrestling
look at
terms.
Dan with the wrestling terminology.
I did watch some Raw back in the
Yeah,
day.
one of the best heels of all time. He's also basically one of the most famous professional wrestlers of all time. You know, you got guys argue about who are the biggest guys or the biggest names, but Roddy Piper, if he's not a top 10 guy, he's absolutely a top 20 guy, historically
But
speaking.
he was in the first wave of wrestling's popularity, right?
The
In the
80s wave. The 80s
Not the
wave.
90s, not the late 90s, not the early 2000s, the
Yes,
80s.
The 80s, and he led it. In the 1980s, as wrestling fans can attest to, I am a huge wrestling fan, still am, but I like the classic stuff, the golden era stuff. In the 1980s, there was Hulk Hogan, the good guy of all good guys,
The
and there
Hulkster.
was Roddy Piper. That was his arch nemesis during the 80s explosion of wrestling. That was the Rock and Wrestling connection. That was when Hogan was the good guy and he fought Roddy the bad guy. And the main event of WrestleMania 1
Wow.
was
First
Hulk
one.
Hogan with Mr. T versus
Oh, man.
Hot Rod Roddy Piper with Paul Orndorff.
I honestly
that was
always
the
forget
first
that Mr.
match.
T was a wrestler.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a wrestler. He was a famous actor, but he,
But yeah, but he was in it.
they
I mean,
crossed him over quite a bit. Yeah. So, I mean, so that's what we're talking about. When WrestleMania started, Roddy Piper was the main attraction, the main event, the main heel. Roddy Piper, I lost my windscreen.
Oh, no.
Let me go get it real quick.
Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Chris is finding his windscreen. That's the theme song.
You know, you fit that perfectly to the second level of the original Nintendo game, Castlevania.
Do you think that's
know.
by mistake?
Chris is missing his windscreen when he goes underground.
Castlevania has some of my favorite Nintendo music of all time.
So good. First
Brilliant.
Castlevania is great.
Oh, yeah.
Conversation for another time.
Yeah.
We actually have discussed Castlevania on
We
this
have.
podcast. So anyway, Hot Rod Roddy Piper, legendary wrestler. Another thing, historically speaking, that a lot of people know about Roddy was the first wrestler to go into a successful film.
Kind of crossed over.
Yeah, he was in John Carpenter's They Live.
Such a fantastic movie.
Fantastic movie, cult classic. Just a great sci-fi over-the-top movie. I saw it in the movie theater when I was a little kid.
I don't think I did. I think I saw it on VHS.
Fair enough. Most people saw it on VHS, but classic film. And Roddy Piper was a legendary guy. Now, that's all well and good. Obviously, it's always sad when somebody passes away. But here's where things take a weird turn to this Roddy Piper story, and it becomes personal in that I was friends with Roddy Piper. And when I say friends, I want to be completely forthcoming about it.
You
Because
stalked him.
Yeah, I was talking. When I say friends, you know, it's not friends like Dan here, who's my best friend, so forth, or one of my best friends in the world, been all over the world, so forth. That's a very close friend. But Roddy was a casual friend of mine, and the story of how I met him and got involved and became friends with him, I think is a good story. And I have been threatening to tell it on this podcast. A lot of people have asked me about it. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to, relay the tale of Roddy Piper. This is where it all starts. I'm a little kid growing up, huge wrestling fan. As we said, Roddy Piper was as big as can be. I was not a Roddy Piper fan as a kid because I was so little that I bought into the good guy, bad
Sure,
guy
sure.
thing.
And he was the bad guy.
He was the bad guy. He was the villain. I was a Hulk Hogan man. I was a Superfly Jimmy Snuka man. I like the good guys, you know, JYD, the Junkyard Dog. And we're talking when I'm a little tyke here. We're talking like 7, 8, 9 years old, that kind of age frame, if not even younger. So Roddy Piper to me was just the most evil dude and sadistic and wild and crazy and carefree and all this kind of stuff. Now, as I got older, I started having appreciation for the villains and the talkers in wrestling, the guys that could really work a mic, the guys that were flamboyant and could do great interviews and really be colorful characters.
And the promos they did.
The promos. First off, folks, Dan's wrestling lingo is light years ahead of where I thought it would be. Heels, promos.
You've reached the end of my knowledge.
Okay, great. That's it. So here's the thing. Roddy Piper is widely considered one of the best interviews of all time. He had a segment called Piper's Pit, where basically it was the start of the segments. Wrestling segments became very popular, where a guy would have his own talk show, but Piper would bring the guest wrestler on, basically start berating the guest wrestler, and by the end of the segment, he was beating him up. So he'd have somebody to come on his show to beat him up, but he was so spitfire clever with his interviews and his verbiage, and just he was such a colorful character on the mic that he really kind of ushered in the era of, hey, you need to perform, you need to be an actor, you need to.
It's not just wrestling.
It's not just wrestling.
It's the whole thing.
And
that's, I think, one thing that I didn't really appreciate when I was younger with wrestling is that it's wrestling, but it's entertainment. Like, it's the whole thing.
And now they call it sports entertainment,
which is exactly what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
so, okay. So with that said, as I got older, I became more and more a fan of Roddy Piper, and I was a huge They Live fan, and I saw it in the movie theater. And, as I grew, I came to realize his true genius, to the point that as a grown man, I was undoubtedly a Roddy Piper fan over Hulk Hogan. Like, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper's one of the greatest wrestlers, one of the best guys on the mic, and he became one of my favorites. If not my favorite wrestler, definitely one of my guys. Like, if you were to say, hey, Chris, who are your, top 5 wrestlers? He's one of the guys. I bought the Roddy Piper t-shirts. This is as a grown man, not as a child. You know what I mean? I rock my Piper shirts. I bought Roddy Piper's biography, In the Pit with Piper. I was always following him. He would show up occasionally because he got into B movies heavily. After They Live, he started a career as a movie actor, but not in big films, small movies, indies, little action films. So he kind of had that whole world, and he set the stage for so much. We talked about the promos. We talked about that, but he also set the stage for wrestlers being accepted in Hollywood. One of the biggest Hollywood stars in the world is The Rock. And The Rock does not exist as an actor if Roddy Piper doesn't do They Live.
An HBO show.
Because they would always put wrestlers in movies. Hulk Hogan's had no holds barred.
Totally.
But that was an answer to essentially They Live, because Roddy, I believe, left WWE to do the movie. Vince McMahon was like, yo, you can't be leaving to go do no movies. Like, fuck this, I want to try and be a movie star. Movie is a huge hit the first weekend. It was the #1 movie in the States for like 1 week at the box office. Then that's when Vince McMahon rushed out his Hulk Hogan motion picture, No Holds Barred. Like, God, if Roddy can be a star, Hogan can. But he couldn't. That was the difference. Roddy was a real actor. He really had the gift, With that said, another thing that Roddy was well known for was he was kind of a troublemaker. Roddy didn't take no shit. Backstage, behind the scenes, Roddy was the first guy to go after Vince. Roddy was the guy that would do shoot interviews and tell what's really happening. Roddy really looked out for the guys. He kind of believed in the old business. He came from the old world of wrestling.
I've often wondered, and I don't know if you know this, those behind the scenes things, how real those really are. Like, is that played up drama? for the show, or is that like shit's really weird right now and we're just gonna run with it because it's television?
I think the ones that you see are all written and played out, but the real ones that you read about in the books and online,
well, yeah, you read about it in books, but I
Yeah.
mean, some of that stuff with CM Punk was apparently kind of real.
yeah, there was elements of it. I think they do a good job of blurring the lines, but back then it was all, behind the scenes. Roddy's background as a person is actually very interesting to his story because Roddy came up very hard. He's very he was not specific about the details, but there's a lot of rumors of some serious abuse that occurred to him when he was a child. He grew up in no man's land in Canada. He was Canadian. He lived on an Indian reservation as a white kid, and really bizarre stuff. Learned to play the bagpipes. That's real. He's actually a piper. Hot Rod Roddy Piper comes from playing the pipes. He would walk out to the ring playing them early on.
I know that.
Ran away from home basically as a teenager and got in the wrestling business. And he was a skinny little kid, but he worked his way through the smaller territories, made a lot of friends. People loved him behind the scenes, got a reputation for a good talker. And again, was known as a very loyal guy, an incredibly loyal guy, to the point that the promoter who gave him his start in Oregon, where it was back in the territory system, when Roddy got to the WWF and became a big deal, he refused to be on WWF cards when they would come to Oregon. He never wrestled for the WWF in Oregon.
Oh, really?
Literally, basically as a thank you to the guy that he got started, because he knew what was happening.
Sure.
Hey, WWE shutting the little guys down. And he's like, I'll never go against the guy that gave me the break up there. Incredibly loyal guy. Some other strange facts about Roddy to throw out there is Roddy got married and stayed with the same woman his entire career in life, which is unheard of in wrestling.
Really?
And
kind of unheard of in general at this point.
Unheard of in general. Had a big family. I believe he had 3 kids. One who is a wrestler by the name 4 kids. Great. Yeah. Dan's got the facts. One is a wrestler by the name of Colt. I think 3 daughters. Sound right? 2 boys, 2 girls, or
I am seeing 3 daughters here on the Wikipedia.
Gotcha. One who's done some acting and whatnot. So Roddy was a family man. Oddly enough, this wild, crazy, hell-bent character who could talk anybody out and seem nuts, who, for the record, is considered one of the biggest partiers behind the scenes. Supposedly, nobody could party like Piper. In Ric Flair's book, there's a great chapter about argument breaking out backstage in the early days. We're talking NWA out in the Carolinas when Piper is out there. Flair and Piper were very, very close, which is interesting because they were both flamboyant characters. But supposedly he tells a story where a bet started going that there was one wrestler, I don't know who it was, and there was Piper, and who could party harder. So Ric Flair basically goes and spends thousands of dollars and said he filled his house all-nighter. Everybody staying the night, lock the doors, put the keys away. And we are going to have this guy and Piper party all night. Drink for drink, shot for shot.
That explains. I was going to say, how do you quantify
bong hit for bong hit? So basically, Flair said it was the greatest rager of ever, and everyone is just getting shit-faced. All these wrestlers, guys are putting each other in holds, falling through walls, he ordered steaks and pizzas and beers, and they made a tally all night, Roddy versus this other wrestler, because this guy was saying he could take out Piper. And Flair says, it's still a controversial finish, but he was like, I was my party, so I'm telling the story. He was like, when the other wrestler at 4:30 in the morning was covered in his own vomit, passed out on the living room floor, Piper went and upstairs, turned on the light, tucked himself in, and peacefully went to bed. So he's like, nobody was like Piper. He was a character. So that's the background on Roddy. And move into the situation where I kind of come into play. As we all know, if you listen to this podcast, and Stan knows, Aaron and I wrote a film. And the film got made. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. Trust me, if it ever gets finished, I will not shut up about it. You have to be an intervention. But when we wrote this film, there are 2 characters in it, 2 dads, rival dads.
Is it called My Two Dads?
My Two Dads. And my gag that I always wanted to do is to have the 2 dads be wrestlers. Number one, because I love wrestling and I think it's funny. Wrestlers are somewhat easy to get for a smaller film, if you will, and there's some celebrity factor, and I just thought it'd be funny. And when it was written, I had always envisioned Mick Foley as the one down on his luck dad who is, our hero's father living in a garage, and then the fast-talking, uber-rich, out-of-control, slimy old man being Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
So I reached out to both of them because I know Foley as well. Foley, I got a copy of the script, and to be fair, didn't really hear much back from him. So I just kind of assumed he was either busy. He was caught up heavy with a documentary on Santa that he was doing. But I made a play to get Roddy Piper, one of my favorite wrestlers ever, one of my heroes. And I basically went to his website and I found an email. And it was like, information kind of email, so forth. And
Hot Rod at RoddyPiper.com.
Exactly. And I sent an email to Roddy Piper, basically saying, this is who I am. I've made this movie. I know it's probably unrealistic to get you in it, but blah, 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 blah. I would love to have you in this film. It would mean a lot to me, so forth and so on. I, to my utter shock, and this is when we're still kind of putting it together and sort of getting the pieces together for the film, I get an email back literally within minutes. And if it's
that
cool,
quickly,
I'm going to read it to you.
I don't think he'll mind,
to give you an idea of who. Again, I sent this saying, hey, I'm looking for Roddy. I have no idea it's getting to him.
You wouldn't think that people like Roddy Piper check those email addresses.
Exactly.
They probably have people that do it.
Exactly. And I get this email. Hello, Chris. I wanted to give you the respect as a fellow artist of replying to you personally. I forwarded your email to my agent and asked him to get in touch with you. I just got off tour myself. It was brutal. I will be in LA tomorrow for a couple of weeks. Your band sounds great. I just looked them up. I just did a concert for charity in Toronto with the E Street Band minus Bruce for a Parkinson's cancer ad. I'm a marshmallow when it comes to sick kids.
Yeah, who isn't?
You're going, too much info, smiley face. If you want to speak one-on-one, I would do that as we both make a living the same way, work our asses off. Let me know. Ever forward, Rod.
Wow.
Now, I have to understand, I just got a personal email from one of, I think one of the most influential professional wrestlers of our time, who I've been following since I was a 5-year-old
kid. You put him in your top 5.
And he has written me back personally. I mean, just to say, I want to give you the respect as a fellow artist of replying to you personally. I'm telling you, if you're out there listening to this, when it comes to celebrities, you don't get that often. It goes through an agent. It goes through a manager. So I'm just flabbergasted. What a great guy. Holy shit. Like, what a cool guy to just even send that email. So what happens is, as you can imagine, I write him back and say, Roddy, I'd love to meet up in person. Here's my information. Feel free to give me a call. And I'm thinking, is he going to call me? Am I going to get a call from the Hot Rod?
That'd be amazing.
And I do. And Roddy Piper calls me on the phone. And we proceed to have a lovely conversation. Just this is what's going on with the film, blah, blah, blah. And he says, well, I'm going to be in LA. Let's meet up. Let's catch up. We'll grab a cup of coffee and you can tell me about your film. Now, this is just like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I am going to meet
mind-blowing.
Hot Rod Roddy Piper just like as a peer. That's what was strange about it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Not as a little kid that grew up watching him, but as a guy in a band who he's looked up and he's checked out the band, and he's a guy and I'm making a movie and he may be in it, and that's that. So, I mean, life is just, I'm on a cloud 9.
I'm sure over the moon.
Over the moon. So, fast forward, a couple days go by, and I go down to Los Angeles. We were actually casting for the film at the time, so it's I'm down there working on the movie, because it's a go. We're going to be able to do it. Repositioning here. So Roddy, I'm meeting him at I'm freaking out first and foremost. That's the important part of this. But I
like how I'm going to be in LA tomorrow. It's not like let's meet up next time I'm in there. It's like, I'm here tomorrow. Can you come down?
Yeah. So I am on Santa Monica Boulevard at a health food store is where he wanted to meet. And I'm tense. I'm like, oh my God, what's this going to be like? How's this going to be? And I walk into the health food store, and leaning on a table is Hot Rod Roddy Piper.
That's incredible.
Wearing a leather jacket and a ball cap, kind of incognito. And there he is. Chris, Roddy, big old smile, shake hands. He's like, let's get a smoothie. They got these great shakes here. They've got these great shakes. You'll love it. So Roddy orders like the craziest drink you can imagine. Like one of these like super health food, like it's purple, kale and spinach and all this crazy stuff. He's like, and one for my friend here, one for my friend. I am freaked out at this drink, but check it out. I'm fucking drinking it. If Roddy Piper is buying me some crazy ass health food shake. So we get these shakes, we drink them, and I am basically feel like I am on crack cocaine. Whatever was in this shake, because he poured some out of his for me, one of those
so
deals,
taste it.
so I could taste it.
Got it.
So I'm just like,
that's nice.
You know, like I'm freaking out. I'm all cracked out on this. And Roddy and I are walking down Santa Monica Boulevard looking for a place to eat, just talking like we had known each other for a long time. Sometimes you meet people and they're just that inviting,
Totally,
that they make you feel comfortable. And he was that. He was so warm. He was so kind. He was so friendly, and he just treated me like an instant peer. And I'm thinking like, my God, I could be a whack. Well, actually, I am fucking whack pack
you
for
are
this guy.
Pack.
And here I am just walking down the street having a conversation. We're talking about our backgrounds, and I mentioned I'm a Mr. T fan. He was not a Mr. T fan.
Oh, no.
And he proceeds to tell me literally intimate details about the boxing match that he had with Mr. T at WrestleMania 2, how he took a chunk out of Mr. T's leg and Mr. T tried to choke him out backstage. And I'm thinking like, this is unbelievable. Like I am getting my own one-on-one shoot interview with one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And it's just me and him. So we find a pizza place. We sit in the pizza place. We order a big old pie. We both like the same toppings.
Had a smoothie.
Now
you're having a pizza.
Now we're having a pizza and a Coke. And I'm not a big soda drinker anymore, but Roddy.
Once in a while, though.
Yeah, Roddy is a huge Coca-Cola man. So he's like, I gotta tell you, he's like, I don't do the booze anymore.
Fantastic.
And he had this really kind of low voice, like surprisingly low. Like you wouldn't be surprised how low it was. Because when he was talking the thing, it's like, oh, Roddy, oh, hey, ah,
yeah,
oh, ah. But when he met, he was very, very low. So he's like, I gotta tell you, Chris, I really into Coca-Cola. So pardon me, but I soda's just got me. It got me bad. You know, he's like, I know I gotta lose a little weight. He's a little overweight, but he was still a big gym guy. He still did a lot of weightlifting.
Sure, of course.
So we got Cokes. I'm thinking like, this is the best Coke I have ever tasted in my life. It's like on the Coke, you know, share a Coke with a legend. I'm like sharing a Coke with a legend.
I am doing it.
I tell him about the film. He's listening. I'm telling him about how we wrote it, the background, how it's a small effort, how we're doing it all on our own, and it would be honored to have him. And, you know, he takes a script, and we have a great lunch. We really, really hit it off. I mean, I really felt like we had a little connection. Like, hey, we'll hang out again together if this ever happens. Well, you know, give him the script. He's going to check it out, blah, blah, blah. Roddy and I stay in touch through a voicemail here and text message here. Basically, he's seeing if he can make it happen, if he can come out for the 3 days that we need him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what ends up happening is he agrees to do it. And I'm freaking out. I'm calling family, friends. We got Hot Rod Roddy Piper. He's going to be in our movie. I'm losing my mind because he's also known for films. It's not a wrestler that's never done it.
Right.
So I'm great. Things are exciting. Everybody's pumped up. And very long story short, Roddy is kind of under contract to WWE when they need him.
Right.
They call it a Legends deal. Well, Vince fucking McMahon sabotages me. He knew. And I basically get a text message from Roddy saying, Chris, I'm very sorry about this. I'm trying to make it work, but there's a chance the WWE may need me leading up to WrestleMania.
I remember telling me about this at the time.
Devastated. I mean, devastated, because I've told all these people he's going to be in the flick. I'm waiting to hear. I mean, keep in mind, if he can't do it, we've got to cast somebody else. I am now talking to Diamond Dallas Page to play the other dad. So Diamond Dallas is interested because Roddy's interested.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm seeing. So Roddy hits me up, and I had missed the call, but he's like, Chris, Roddy, I'm so sorry, man, but you know, I got to do the WWE thing. It's my career. They need me for some promo stuff out in Florida. I'm not going to be able to do the film. I wish you the best of luck, buddy. Hope we can work together in the future. It was close to like someone ripping my heart out. I was devastated. Now
you can just send him a sweater.
Yeah, totally. The roles of these two dads are in peril, because I'm thinking now I'm going to lose Diamond Dallas Page.
When then you lose the the joke of them both being wrestling people.
Exactly. And you lose that, you might as well just get two character
anybody.
actors off the street.
Yeah,
you
totally.
might as well just get your dad to play the dad because it just doesn't work.
Get the ref from our dodgeball video. He
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Totally. So now, as you can imagine, a text message, keep in mind it's in the process of pre-production for a movie that's about to shoot, I kid you not, in like a week. This is not like a month to go. This is desperation panic time. So I almost had my favorite wrestler to be in my movie, but it's fallen through. He was a gentleman about it, but now it's like, will Diamond Dallas do it? Diamond Dallas says he's still interested. He, through another agent kind of guy, long story, recommends Jake the Snake Roberts to play the other dad. That's a story in itself because
Yes.
Jake the Snake Roberts is a wild character.
He
At
was
the
incredible.
I wasn't sure what was going to happen in terms of Jake the Snake is so famous and well known for all his substance abuse
Mhm.
problems, and he had kicked it and supposedly is good, but you don't know. Can
never
he
know.
remember lines? Will he
Never know.
show up? We roll the dice. We get Jake. We get DDP. The two roles are saved. Jake and DDP are our dads. Life is great. We go about shooting this film, blah, 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 and we're shooting it over the course of 12, 13 days. Funny thing happens.
On the way to the forum.
During the filming of the movie, a couple days in, I get a call. Chris, it's Roddy. Hey, what's up, Roddy? How you doing? Hey, man, great news. We salvaged the roles. You know, Diamond Dallas, he had told Diamond to do the film,
Oh, shit.
you know, which is such a class act, you know, like, hey, this Chris guy's a good guy. I think you should do it, even though I'm not going to do it. So he's like, I heard you got Diamond Dallas. That's great. I hope it's going good. I hope the filming went good. You know, I'm in LA, you know, just wanted to say hi. Now I'm thinking, you know what? Fuck this. If he's back in LA, I don't care if we have to write in a 2-second scene where the door swings open. Roddy goes, hey, what's up? And shuts the door. I want Hot Rod in my movie. I call Roddy and say, Roddy, I heard you're in. Is there any way I could get you to come in for an hour and shoot a 30-second cameo in the movie? It would just mean so much to me, blah, blah, blah. You know, you helped get this off the ground and get the other wrestlers. He pauses and says, let's do that. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So awesome.
I'm freaking out. So what happens is, I wonder if everyone can hear your dog. Your dog's rocking tonight.
He
huh?
is pissed. Well, I didn't put him in the
Yeah.
crate. He's outside, so
Yeah.
he's barking.
Anyway, so what's happening is, so Roddy is going to come up to Ventura to shoot a short scene. I power out a scene really quick that I write, and Roddy is going to come up to Ventura, California, to shoot this scene, and the scene happens to be at my house, at my actual house. If anybody's actually watching this right now, I'll look to the camera and say, hey. Roddy's going to come to the crib. He
It's
needs
no
somebody.
surprise that you tried to get him to your house.
Yeah, of
That's
course,
what you
of
always do.
So
Come over.
of course he needs somebody to pick him up. He needs a ride
Yeah.
to come up. I volunteer. I'm not sending one
No
of the
shit.
assistants on this one. This is me coming to get Roddy, right? So I go down. You got to keep in mind, this is like wrestling fans, you know, just dream. This is
Wet-
like a
wet dream.
dream, you know, a wet dream. So I go down to Hollywood and pick up Roddy Piper at the apartment complex that he was staying at. And he comes out. He's got a couple random clothes. He hops in my car and he's like, I got 2 Cokes waiting for him. He's like, he's like, you're too good to me, Chris. You're too good to me. So we're
That's
cracking
awesome.
Cokes. And we're driving down the 101 and we're driving to Ventura to my house where a movie is shooting. I have abandoned my home and said, guys, I don't give a fuck. I'm coming back with a surprise, you know? So I pick Roddy up and we have the best conversation. We really, really have a strange connection. And Roddy, listen, there's probably a million people that could probably say they had a connection with Roddy because he was so
That's
welcoming.
the kind of guy it sounds like he was.
The kind of guy he was, you know, so sweet, so kind, so appreciative, so just humble. I mean, you couldn't believe how kind and humble this man was, you know? We're having a great time. We're talking, we're throwing ideas out. We're really kind of bonding. It's great. We get up to my house, you know, he goes upstairs, he goes to the spare bedroom to kind of get changed. You know, he's going to play a next door neighbor that basically comes up to our lead character in a mailbox and gives him a little shit. Quick in and out kind of deal.
That's great.
Everybody on the set's freaking out because Roddy's there and they're like, wow, you know, because a lot of those guys are movie guys. So they know him from They Live.
Sure.
you know?
Yes. As we talked about, is a classic.
Yeah. So Roddy comes and you know, he's hanging out, you know, again, he's just chilling in my upstairs like guest room and comes down to shoot the quick little scene. He's just fantastic. He's friendly, he's welcoming, he's working with the lead actor. He was an actor. And literally in the short scene he's in, you watch it and you wish you saw him 10 more times because you could just tell he knows how to act, you know? And I'm thinking like, oh man, it would have been great to have him as a dad, but I'm not going to get greedy. he's at least in it. He comes up, so short scene, literally when you see the movie, he's in it for 2 seconds. Afterwards, he's ready to go back to LA. It is Friday. Piper and I are heading into Los Angeles in rush hour traffic from Ventura. Basically, it's going to be a 2-hour drive. No problem. He's going into Hollywood at 5 o'clock on a Friday.
You're looking at 3 hours probably.
Yeah, legit. So Roddy and I are on this mission, and I know this sounds a little extreme, but it was one of the greatest experiences of my life in terms of conversation because we were just stuck in traffic. It was just 2 guys.
He had a captive audience.
Sun going down, captive audience, and him and I just literally bonded. We're telling stories. I mean, he's telling me, intimate, not in that sense, but, personal details about his life and stuff he's struggling with and things that he's excited for and things that he still wants to do with his career and how he's just like, I just wish somebody like a Tarantino would come along and just write me a role where I really had a chance to act, not just some B thing where I'm a weird character. Like, I'd love to prove to people that I could really be a dramatic actor, And I said, Roddy, one day I'm going to write that role for you. And he's like, oh, thanks, kid. Thanks. He was so sweet. And we actually came up with something that I think I can tell everybody about now. I had an idea and I pitched it to him. And he really, really loved it. He was kind of going through some weird stuff with the WWE. He wasn't sure if they're going to invite him to WrestleMania, what his role was going to be. So he had to be very careful about, talking too much shit and all that stuff. And he told me that his background, Vince, he opened up his phone and he was telling me about Hogan and, their weird relationship that they had, like kind of a love-hate thing on and off screen. Saying that, Hulkster's like, I think he's going through some stuff. Lo and behold.
Obviously he was.
Lo and behold. So he shows me some text messages that Hulk Hogan had sent him. And I know this is kind of private information, but I don't think it's too private. Hulk was sending Roddy like inspirational religious text messages. And Roddy's like, he was like, it's creepy, man. He was like, my phone's buzzing at 2 a.m. and it's from Hulk Hogan. And he's sending me like a Bible verse. He was like, it's just, and I'm thinking like, this is out of a dream. I am stuck in rush hour traffic. Roddy Piper and I are having the greatest conversation of all time, and he's reading me text messages from Hulk Hogan. Like, this is something, if you told the 8-year-old version of myself, I'd be like, put me in a cryogenic freeze until that moment comes. But we're hitting it off, and we came up with an idea. And the idea that we came up with was, check this out, Dan.
Listening.
Raw's on every Monday night. We came up with a concept for a online basic show called Monday Night Rod. And what it is it's like a podcast where you sync up, you tune in, and Roddy is calling and commentating and mocking the entire episode of Raw.
So it's like riff tracks.
Riff tracks, yes.
Which is what a Mystery Science Theater 3000 became.
Yes, true. You watch Raw with the volume off.
That's incredible.
You let Roddy commentate
genius.
it for you. So we literally invented this together. We came up with the whole concept, how it would work, where to record it, blah, 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 blah. And he said, hey, you're going to be my guy on this. Like, I'm going to have you come in and you'll either be the co-host or maybe you can even produce it, And he was like, you'll be my straight guy and I'll just rip on Monday Night Raw. I'm driving. I'm thinking like, well, this is the greatest drive of my entire life. You know what I mean? I am literally coming up with business ideas with Roddy Piper. We're having a great time. I mean, and we had personal conversations too. That was interesting about this in such a short period of time. I was telling him about my life and my dreams and things that I want and things that have let me down. And he's telling me about stuff and we're bonding and telling these heartfelt stories. And I mean, it was just magical. And I got the sense that you could tell he had some health problems. He had beat cancer before.
Right.
He had, I believe, a hip surgery or knee surgery. He was going really slow. He was a little overweight, and you could just tell that. And I know this sounds weird, but at the time I felt, and God, this is fucked up to say, man, but I really felt like this isn't a guy that's going to be with us for a long time. He was very reflective. Does that make sense? Kind of like an older guy really looking back on his life. And I mean, maybe this is all in my head, but it just had that feeling of like a country song, like, me and this guy.
Let's disgrace him like that.
Yeah. I mean, good country song. So we get to Hollywood and we're passing the gas station right by Hollywood and Vine. He says, pull over at the gas station. I'm like, okay, cool, man. Why? He's like, I got to take a piss. And he goes in the gas station and he comes out. He's like, it's closed. And I'm like, oh, well, we're close to your house. He's like, ah, fuck it. I'll just piss in the parking lot. I'm like, what? He's like,
in LA?
He's like, cover me, kid. So I get out of the car and I'm just kind of like, basically, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm kind of just standing with my arms outstretched. Roddy Piper at rush hour traffic is pissing next to the pump, dude, not behind the joint. Like, I'm Roddy Piper. If I want to take a piss on this pump, I'm taking a piss on this pump.
Who's gonna step to him?
You know, so the guy in the little talkback button is like, excuse me, like, what are you doing out there? And Roddy, one hand on his penis, raises the other hand and gives a middle finger to the shop. Just like, I'm just like, this is the greatest thing ever.
That's amazing.
We get in the car, we drive back to his apartment, and you know, I drop him off, and he gets out of the car, and he comes up to the window and knocks on for me to roll down, and he says to me, he said, paraphrasing, but something to the extent of like, kid, you're one of the good ones. We were meant to meet. We're going to see each other again and do some work. I promise you that. Love you, man. And gives me a tap on the shoulder. Now,
that's crazy.
Could he be giving me the wrestler con? Maybe. Wrestlers are known for kind of,
sure,
doing the thing. This guy was just in my flick, but it didn't feel like that. It felt really, really genuine. Like we really, really kind of had a connection together. So that was the beginning of 2014 when we filmed it. Since then, Roddy and I kept in touch. It wasn't bullshit. When he told me that we were going to keep in touch, it was real. Roddy would text me. I would text him. Occasionally we would get on the phone and catch up. And he, he would send funny text messages. I mean, just amazing that I was friends with them. We were friends, casual friends, but we were friends.
How do you explain that? Like hanging out with people that you don't maybe know that well, like look at your phone and just kind of chuckle. And they're like, oh, what'd you? Oh, I just got a joke from Roddy Piper. It's no, like, how do you?
It's just crazy. I mean,
it's nuts.
Just, as a little kid, you just think of like, that's someone you respected and idolized and hated and looked up to. And now he's a friend. And again, I'm not somebody whose house I went to. I didn't kick it with his family. It was nothing like that. But we were buddies, we were text buddies. We were in touch. I told him, kept him abreast on how the film was going. He's like, dude, I'll have you on my podcast when it comes on. I'll help you promote it. I want to hype it up. I got followers. I love what you did. So he's going to be an asset to help getting the word out on the film.
Of course.
He also, Aaron and I have written another script. And we wrote a part for Roddy. As I promised him, we wrote a part. He was going to be the dad, and it was a serious role. We were going to give him a real role, as serious as you can be in a raunch comedy. But he was going to be in the film. Now, in July, I was in touch with him because this is crazy because we're getting close to him passing away. But I was in touch with him because we were planning on meeting in LA. And I was going to give him the new script so he could read it and basically tell him, hey, I kept my word. I wrote a movie and there's a part in it for you and it's juicy and we're going to make it next year and I want you in it, And he was excited because I told him I was bringing him a new script. We were going to meet up at the same pizza place and our thing was grab a couple Cokes.
Sure,
that's our thing. It was like, hey, we'll grab a couple Cokes, So he called me and left a message and he got cut off during the message, one of those weird truncated messages. And he was inviting me to see his son who was going to wrestle in Port Hueneme following day. They have a wrestling show that they do out there. And
I didn't know that.
And I thought about going. It was one of those weekends where I had a lot going on. And I just said to myself, next time, I'll go see his kid next time he comes through. I didn't know his kid, And Roddy showed up there and made a guest appearance. He was calling basically to say,
I'm coming.
You need to come because I can't say anything, but I'm going to be there. And I didn't go. And 2 weeks later, I got the week. This is the truth of this story, which is really crazy. The following week, Roddy and I were going to meet, go have pizza, show him the new script, tell him what was going on with the movie because it's been a while. And my phone starts blowing up. Literally, I got a call from my friend Rory, who you know from the UK. UK number, I didn't recognize it. Hey, man, I got some really, really bad news. My first instinct was I thought that Rory being from the UK, I'm thinking, God, maybe a friend or fan of ours that we were close to over there is hurt or passed away. That was literally the first thing I thought, because it was a UK number, you know?
Yeah, you don't get
And
many calls from the UK.
then all of a sudden, Larry Longstreth, who was a fellow filmmaker, who was in our film, who was a big Roddy fan, says, dude, I'm so sorry about Piper. And then that was it. The Reza, our producer, starts calling, and I was in the middle of a meeting. I couldn't take it. I'm like, what's going on right now? My phone is exploding. Like, I'm getting text messages.
Jesus.
And when Larry said, I'm sorry about Piper, obviously I knew what it was, you know, and I hopped on Twitter
Sure.
really quick, and there were things coming in saying reports are. And it was true. Roddy Piper had a massive heart attack in his sleep, which is strange to me because I felt like he wasn't healthy. I really, really felt like his days were numbered in a strange way when I met him. It was creepy in the sense that I was going to meet him, you know, the following week, and I was going to show him this thing that we were going to work on together. So it was really, you know, it was really bizarre. And I don't want to say it was tough. It was just more shocking. When somebody you know passes away, it freaks you out.
Totally.
No matter how close you are to them. It's strange. It's strange. You know, I mean, obviously, again, I'm referencing you because you're in front of me. You're one of my best friends. If you die, I'm off the fucking deep end and getting tattoos and speaking at your funeral.
Your first tattoo.
You know, basically burning you in a fucking Viking funeral and dumping your body off the pier.
Please do.
That's intense. But this is somebody who was new to my life, but was cool because he was famous. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool. We have famous friend.
Dude, you were a fan
hero.
forever.
You know, if you go to my house, long before I ever met him, if you go to my house right now and see all my weird stuff hanging up, there's a Roddy Piper action figure. You go to my bookshelf, there's a Roddy Piper biography. You know, so it was somebody. It's such a weird story because I met a hero, and he was cooler.
He was still a hero.
Cooler than expected.
Yeah.
Made him even more awesome. And a lot of times, and you can attest to this, when you meet somebody you respect,
it's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
It can be.
And you're a little disappointed. But Roddy was beyond my wildest expectations of someone cool. From how he talked, from how he treated you, to doing the movie last minute. He was amazing, and it was amazing to meet somebody that you love and idolize, and he's just as cool, if not cooler than you wanted. And the short period that I got to become friends with him is, I look at it as a gift. I know that sounds cliched, but it was a real gift. Had I not sent that email, had I not took that Hail Mary toss that maybe it would get to him and he could be in our film, I would never have had this relationship that I had with him, you know? And the strange thing is, now we're not sure exactly if it's his last one or one of his last ones, but there's a good chance that the little movie that I made is the final film appearance of one of the greatest wrestlers and greatest wrestler actors, and my friend Roddy Piper. And I'll, you know, maybe in a strange way, that's what I gave to him. You know, I know that sounds crazy, but hey, the last movie you were in is the movie that I made. You know, so I have a picture with me and Aaron and Roddy in front of my garage, and he's got this huge beaming smile on it. And it's one of my most cherished pictures. You know how everybody's got a couple pictures that, like,
totally,
that's one of them, you know, and that, you know, that is my story of my relationship with, you know, my hero, Roddy Piper. And what I'm going to do real quick is let me just read you a text from him to kind of sign this one off. Just if I can find it, you know, obviously, as I told you, my phone's gone mad, you know. See,
it's about time you get a new one.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. Maybe next week you can try and convince me why to leave the iPhone, because I know you're a big Droid man.
I am, but that's no reason to leave the iPhone. Use what works for you. I'm not an evangelist or anything. I mean, I have preferences, but you know what you can go with what you know. Which is
here's one of the last texts
go for it.
I got from Roddy. Dude, I think of you often. I enjoyed the time we spent working and brainstorming. Roddy, I really like the sex you gave me. Wait, might have been the other guy. I mean, girl. Laughing out loud, laughing out loud, laughing out loud. This is what happens when you have a wrestler for a friend.
If only he knew.
But I do think of you. Let's do it. Monday Night Rod. Can't wait to talk and catch up. Miss you, buddy. Let's grab a Coke soon. Rod.
That's fucking awesome.
I'll always have that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's real, you know? It actually happened. So there's my Roddy Piper story. Honestly, one of the coolest people I've ever met, from what he's done with his life to how he treated people. He was an absolute loving, warm, just great person, you know? And in a weird way, I miss him. It's kind of cool to it was
I don't
cool to
think
be
that's
able to
weird.
say, I can text the guy at 2 a.m. and be like, yo, Roddy, what the fuck are you doing? And he'd write me back and say hi. And I don't have that, you know?
Yeah.
So strange thing. And I don't mean to say this from a sad standpoint, but it's a happy story because it's a story of a little kid who as an adult met one of his heroes, and the hero was an amazing person. And that guy got to be in a movie, my first movie that I ever made. And it ended up being his last film. And to have a connection like that is, I think it's something that I really will cherish for the rest of my life. If I'm anything that I'm proud about that film, it's that it may only be 5 seconds, but the last time you're going to see that man on camera will be me behind the camera, which is crazy and cool and awesome. So
That's fantastic.
Roddy, my friend, wherever you are as we record this, I miss you, buddy. And we will grab a Coke again at some point. I promise you that.
Hopefully they have Cokes in whatever afterlife he went to.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's an afterlife out there and it's a good one, he's definitely in it. He was a real special guy. So there's my story, Dan. There's I know tonight was sort of a story podcast, but I hope it's inspiring to people to reach out. You know what the hell? Why not try and meet that person that really means something to you?
Yeah.
Because you never know. Maybe you end up becoming friends. I mean, it's not a common story, but this is a true story. Every word of what I talked to tonight and this time I spent with him was great. And it's always cool when you meet a hero. You know, it really is. And there's somebody special.
Mm-hmm.
He's a special guy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Very heartwarming story.
Thanks. Heartwarming episode tonight.
On this very special episode of Fresh Talk.
Yeah, on this very special episode of FTalk. Remembering the life and times in my relationship with Roddy Piper, you know? So that's my story, man. Should I play a voicemail just for fun?
If you want, man.
That's not creepy, right?
No, why would it be creepy?
No, I mean, like, you know, just it'd be cool to have his voice on it, right? What the hell, you know?
I guess it depends on how long it's going to take you to find
Yeah,
said
totally.
voicemail, but
The broken phone. Cool. I have no idea what this voicemail is going to be, so I'll just put it on speaker.
could be in for a doozy.
Yeah, totally. Here we go.
Hey, bud. It's Ray Piper calling. I got your message. Oh, hang on.
Okay.
And that's it. Roddy Piper having trouble with his phone, saying all shit.
He got your message.
But that was the message about going to the wrestling thing. And he texted me after, like, hey, you really should come. You really should come. You know?
Wow.
So, yeah.
What a cool story.
Pretty crazy. So there you go, folks. That's the end of my
That's the
story.
Roddy Piper story.
Thank you for listening to Fresh Talk. If you are a
Yes.
wrestling fan, I hope you enjoyed this. If you like a nice heartwarming tale, I hope you enjoyed it too. Dan,
Yeah.
where can
Sorry, my dog.
where
is
can
going
everyone find us
crazy
before your
outside.
dog comes out and kills us?
You can find everything that we do on freshtalkpodcast.com. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on, well, basically on Periscope and Meerkat and YouTube Live, as you can see.
And maybe somebody's watching it right now.
And there are still 2 people watching
Two
live.
people. Hi, how
I
you doing
think
out
one
there?
of them is me making sure the stream is working. but
Okay.
I don't know.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome. Looking good.
Yeah, well, we will be back, dear viewer. We may have a week lull with your vacation.
week maybe 2,
Maybe
based
2.
on when I come back. So
Okay, we'll figure it out.
We might have a couple weeks off, but we will be back for
We
sure.
will be back. We're enjoying it. If you enjoyed this story today, if you do know any wrestling fans, please retweet it when we announce it. Let people know. I'd love to spread the word of Roddy and just
please
somebody's story.
like it and share it on Facebook as always.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for listening, guys. We will be back soon. You've been listening to Fresh Talk. My name is Chris.
I'm Dan.
And how about cue the pipes for Roddy tonight?
All right.
Cue the pipes.
Cue the Pipanova.